The story begins with the witch Lakesia, queen of the underworld, the most enchanting and deadly bloom. Wherever she walked, a seductive fragrance trailed behind her, and her crimson eyes gleamed like blood-stained roses. There was a reason she was called a witch. Her cruelty knew no bounds. Her will was as sharp and unforgiving as a rose's thorn. Anything she despised was erased without hesitation. In the underworld, people found her troublesome, yet they had no choice but to worship her beauty and strength. Lakesia was always the eye of every storm, the flame that drew all gazes, until the day she vanished without a trace. Her sudden disappearance ignited a storm of rumors. Some said she had been captured by an inquisitor and imprisoned beneath the holy sea. Others claimed she had been devoured by the man-eating flower she raised. Theories spread like wildfire, but the truth remained hidden from all. Even if they knew the truth, they wouldn't have believed it, because even Lakesia herself couldn't believe it. Suddenly, a little girl is seen, and she says, "No, I didn't think it'd be this bad." The world's most beautiful woman, a legendary, infamous villainess who lived for her own vanity, always at the center of every scandal and incident. Then she shouted loudly, "What in the world is this? I've become a 5-year-old child?" 1 month ago, Lakesia asked. "What?" "The Count Basilian household is secretly adopting a child," someone replied. "Yes, I'm sure of it. The head of the Basilian family is personally concealing his identity and visiting orphanages one by one. He was Hada, a dog-beast man, and Lakesia's subordinate and informant," Hada said. "So here's the thing. I've come up with a genius plan," Lakesia asked. "What is it?" Hada smiled and replied. "You pose as the director of an orphanage and lure the Count in," Lakesia says. "No. Even if I manage to get close to him that way, I won't get the information I'm after." Then Hada asked, "Then what should we do?" Lakesia replied, "I'll transform into a child myself and get adopted into the Count's family." Hearing this, Hada was shocked and said, "What? That's way too dangerous, Lord Lakesia." Lakesia added, "What? It's not like I haven't taken risks before, right? The Basilian family's servants are known for their deep loyalty and tight lips. That's why it's better for me to go personally. It's not like I can't do it, right? I finally found a lead on the bastards who ruined my life. There's only one reason. I'm putting everything on the line. To get revenge on those who shattered my happiness. My mother was a fairy driven mad by her own power, and died the moment I was born. I inherited a twisted, unstable magic from her, and the fairy realm cast me out the instant I took my first breath. It wasn't until later that I discovered the truth." Then she tells that 5 years ago, on my 15th birthday, the director brought the cake and said, "Lakesia, happy birthday." Until that day, I hadn't even known I was a fairy. I was surprised to see the cake. Then I asked, "The orphanage barely gets by. How did you even afford this cake?" Hearing this, director smiled and replied, "Why are you worrying about things like that? You're such a silly girl. I was just living happy days in the orphanage." Director said, "Thank you so much for being born, for coming to us, Lakesia." I says, "Director, I had no parents, but I wasn't lonely. With the director's kindness and my friends by my side, I was content. But then, everything changed the day my fairy powers awakened. That day, my powers suddenly appeared, and the director became worried. The hunters found out about it. They saw everything from outside. One of the hunters said, 'Found her. Looks like that info was true.' The other said, 'A freshly awakened fairy fetches a high price.' First asked, 'Well then, shall we begin the hunt?' Then they set the orphanage on fire. In the human world, fairies and magical beings were treated as commodities. Hunters who coveted that power attacked the orphanage. Everyone was slaughtered, except me. Then I started thinking, it's all my fault. Everyone died because of me. If only I weren't a fairy. That's how I lost everything. Life on the run from hunters was nothing but torment. There wasn't a single place that would take me in. Not one soul I could trust. The only thing I needed to survive was power. In the end, the path I chose was revenge. I used the power of fairies to get revenge. Then I searched for the hunters. One day, one of them was in front of me. He said, 'That's all I know about fairy hunters. I told you everything, please spare me.' I attacked her and said, 'If you've spilled everything you know, then get lost.' Once I fully mastered my powers, I began hunting for the real culprit behind the ruin of my life. The fairy hunters were just pawns. Someone was pulling the strings from the shadows. I won't forgive a single one of them. That's how I chose to become a villainess. After years of tracking, I discovered my mother went mad after being subjected to fairy experiments, and I inherited a power unlike ordinary fairies, and there were rumors that one of the 3 great noble houses of the fallen empire had conducted cruel experiments on fairies. Then she began to think, I couldn't recklessly target a noble, so I was looking for a way, and then an opportunity finally come to me. As expected, it's the Basilian family. The Basilian house is one of the 3 great nobles of the fallen empire, and due to scarce information, they are considered the most secretive family. Despite being a high-ranking noble house, none of their family members, including the Basilian count whose face is not even known, they never make public appearances, and a few years ago, the countess passed away. It is only known that out of his 3 sons, the successor has already been chosen. Because they are such a secretive family, they have become the most suspicious target. And now, despite having 3 sons, he is looking to adopt a child? After a while, she said, not from another noble house, but from an orphanage? Something smells fishy. They might be adopting a child to experiment. Hada speaks. It's too dangerous. I'm against it, Lord Lakesia. There is barely any known information about them. Who knows what dangers might be hidden? She added. Hada, you haven't forgotten your promise from back then, have you? Hada says. All right. I'll make a potion to turn you into a child, she said. Make sure it's about 10 years old. If I become too young, it'll be hard to gather information. Then Count is definitely visiting the orphanage himself, right? Hada replied. Yes, that's for sure. And so, infiltrating the Basilian family seemed like a solid plan. After a daze, she became a little girl and she went to an orphanage. She was sitting in a room, lost in thought. This is driving me crazy. She was Che Sha, alias 5 years old. Did that damn potion backfire? Forget turning 10. I ended up a toddler who can't even talk properly. On top of that, it's already been a month since I came to this orphanage, and Count Basilian hasn't even shown his face. But above all, I can't stand another day in this dump. The orphanage I grew up in was clean, and they actually cared about feeding us properly. But here, they are obsessed with money and don't care about the kids. And these brats are so annoying. At that moment, she shouted loudly. It's already been a whole month. When is that bastard finally going to show up? Suddenly Child shouted. Hey, come out quick. There's a noble outside. And a huge, super fancy carriage too. Hearing this, she think, a noble. Could it be? Could it be? When she saw it, she started thinking again. That's it. A fine-bred horse. A luxurious carriage. Elegant attendants. Then that man must be the head of the Basilian family. Count Kiern Basilian. I'm sure. As soon as he stepped out of the carriage, he speaks. I'm planning to adopt a child. Seeing this, she began to think. That person is definitely one of the 3 great nobles of the fallen empire. Count Basilian, Madam Director said. Oh, of course. Please come inside and have some tea. She think. The wait was worth it. He looks strict. Count Kiern Basilian says. No, it's a waste of time. Let's watch from here. Hearing this, she began to think. Oh, finally. I have to catch the Count's attention somehow. If you're just going to stand there shaking, then move aside. He already looks impatient. At this rate, I won't even get a chance to be seen. At that moment, Count Kiern Basilian turned back and said, It seems there is no child for me to take. I'll be going now. Madam Director speaks. What? Please wait a moment. At that moment, suddenly she shouted. Wait. Me? Then she think. No, he can't just leave like that. She shouted loudly. Take me with you. She stepped forward and began to think again. I've been waiting for a whole month. Count Kiern Basilian looked at this closely and asked, Why should I take you? This is the bread she brought just for this moment. Count Kiern picked up the bread. She asked, Come on, can't you tell just by looking? Then she replied, Because I'm adorable. At that moment, she lost in thought. This is the only way for me to be chosen. The Count deliberately exuded a murderous aura. He's probably looking for a child who can endure at least this much. In other words, the Count needs a fearless brat. What do you think? Isn't this enough for you to take me? After a while, Count Kiern smiled and asked, You. Then he knelt down on his knees and asked, What's your name? She replied, Cheshire. My name is Cheshire. Count Kiern asked. Does she resemble them? Hearing this, Cheshire thought. What is he talking about? At that moment, Count Kiern said, All right. I'll take this child. Then Count Kiern picked her up and added, From today on, I'm your dad, Cheshire. Seeing this, Cheshire began to think, What? His mood is completely different from before? Nishi replied, Yes, Dad. This is going well, right? They sat in the carriage, and the carriage started moving. All the children were scared and started speaking. Please return safely. Cheshire was sitting in Kiern's lap, thinking, This is uncomfortable, sitting on someone's lap. Then she moved a little, and Kiern said, You're squirming. You're still not used to having a dad, are you, Cheshire? Cheshire replied, No! At that moment Kiern speaks, So, I've prepared something for you, Cheshire. Hearing this, she lost in thought. What is it? He didn't seem like this delicate type, Kiern said. Here, a gift. Seeing this, she was shocked and thought, This is a mana suppressor? Right, there's no way he just accept this so easily. He wants to check whether I've really turned into a child. But since I drank Hada's potion, there's no way I'll be found out. The power of beast men, like that of other mythical beings, is different from mana. So, at that moment, she smiled and said, Thank you. It's so pretty. But Cheshire is a bit heavy. Then she began to think again. I'll use this against him. How does it feel to be the kind of scumbag who puts a suppressor on an innocent child? Kiern smiled and says, Oops, this isn't right. Daddy got the wrong gift. I'll give you a better bracelet later. Then she took a long breath and thought, Phew, I passed the first test for now. Kiern said, Cheshire, if there's anything you want, just let me know anytime. She asked, Something I want? Kiern replied, Yes, Daddy will grant all your wishes. But in return, Daddy has a request for you too. Just one thing. You just have to grant Daddy one single wish. Sounds easy, right? Hearing this, she lost in thought. What is this ominous feeling? There's definitely a purpose behind this man adopting me. As expected, the ones who experimented on fairies, were they the Basilian Count's family? As soon as the carriage stopped, the knights appeared and said, Excuse me, we will be conducting a brief inspection. Seeing them, Cheshire began to think again. Holy Knights? Why an inspection all of a sudden? Kiern asked. Is something wrong? The Holy Knights replied. Well, we are searching for the fugitive Lakesia. Hearing this, she started to think. Me? Well, I have been in hiding for a month now. I guess it makes sense, considering all the trouble I've caused. But isn't inspecting civilians a bit much? Kiern speaks. Lakesia, now that I think about it, she has been quiet lately. Hearing this, she think again. Kiern knows who I am? He even seems to be tracking my movements. The underworld is a place where those abandoned by society gather. But why would Kiern be interested in someone like me from the underworld? Then Knight asked. Then, excuse me, but may I ask for identification? Kiern replied. I don't want to. The Knight says. We cannot let you pass without verifying your identity. Please step out of the carriage. At that moment, Kiern used magic and said, That's a problem for me. I still want to keep the fact that I adopted a daughter a secret. So, everyone, I'd like you to forget about it. Cheshire think. This feeling of mana. The Holy Knights replied. Yes, understood. Cheshire began to think. This is dark magic? Dark magic is strictly forbidden even in the Empire. But for Basilian, one of the great nobles, to be a dark mage. What kind of situation is this? Then he said, I must have shown you something unpleasant. I'm sorry, Cheshire. If they hadn't been so bothersome, I would have just let it slide. If they hadn't been so bothersome, I would have just let it slide. Since it's come to this, let's move quickly. Then he snapped his fingers and they were transported to another place. Seeing this, she lost in thought. The location changed in an instant. This must be dark magic as well. Since I was discovered anyway, I guess there's nothing left to hide. That means, this place is the Basilian estate. At top moment, Count Kiern said, Welcome to the Castle of the Serpent, my daughter. On the other side, deep within the jungle, a man was running desperately through the dense forest. Suddenly, he fell to the ground, and the branches wrapped themselves around him. A man approached him, when he saw him, and said, You, an Inquisitor. Hylon, Inquisitor of the Holy Empire of Hildred. Hylon said, Now that you've come into contact with forbidden power, you must have been prepared for this. The knights came and says, Lord Hylon? Hylon asked. What about this witch? One of them stepped forward and replied. Not yet. We're conducting inspections, but no information is coming through at all. Hylon speaks. So, don't die carelessly. Then he thought. Just where have you disappeared to? At that moment, in Lakesia, Kieran said. Daddy will put you to bed again today, Cheshire replied. Yes. Then she think. This is driving me crazy. It's already been a week since I entered the Count's household. But why won't Kieran let go of me? At that moment, she recalls that Kieran says, Come on, Che-sha. Let's go to the office with Daddy. I want to get out of this body as soon as possible. But because of this kid, I haven't been able to investigate or do anything. At this rate, he might start suspecting my true identity. Then she recalls that again I said that. You are my prey. Kieran speaks. Amusing, isn't it, Cheshire? She think again. Even so, one thing's for sure, he's hiding something. Kieran is a dark mage. On a continent where the church holds massive influence, dark magic is strictly forbidden by the Holy Empire of Hildred. The Fallen Empire is also heavily under the Holy Empire's control. Anyone caught using unholy powers is executed on the spot. Kieran isn't just any dark mage. He's top tier, even capable of mind control. With his life on the line, there's no way an ordinary person would mess with dark magic. I need to figure out what he's really up to. At that moment, Kieran smiled and asked, Can't sleep? Want me to sing you a lullaby? Hearing this, she think again. Just cut the act and show your true colors already. What's with this whole father figure routine? Kieran begins singing. Hearing this, she start thinking. He's actually singing? That's disturbing as hell. If you're gonna sing, at least try to be decent at it. You're completely tone deaf, honestly. If only this were my mom's lullaby instead. I barely remember anything from before I was sent to the orphanage. But my mom's lullaby, that memory still lingers, faint but clear. And there's no way in hell it sounded anything like this train wreck of a song. Why do my eyes feel so heavy? After a while, Kieran says, Sleep well, Cheshire? Took a long breath and continued thinking. When did I even doze off? Damn it. Ever since I got stuck in this kid's body, my stamina's been garbage. Kieran speaks. Well, this is perfect timing. There's something interesting outside. Take a look. Your brothers are back. Seeing this, she thought. Those guys, they're Basilion's 3 brothers? There's barely any information on them. All I know is the eldest just turned 13, and the twins under him are 11. After a while, he said, Well then, shall we get to work, Cheshire? She thought. Why the hell does he keep dragging me along for work? I need some alone time. Then they went to the office. He said, Just sit here for a bit. Then he drew his sword and speaks. Daddy's got to step out for a bit today. You can hold down the fort on your own, right, Cheshire? Hearing this, she smiled and said, Yes. Then she think, Finally, I'm alone. Suddenly, there was a knock at the door. Kieran said, Come in. Welcome back, Belzian. Belzian Basilian, eldest son of the Basilian Count family. Belzian speaks. Nothing out of the ordinary? It's about time you paid a visit to the Black Forest. Kieran added. Thought so. I was planning on it anyway. At that moment, she began to think, What's with that guy? Why is he glaring at me like that? And the Black Forest? The Black Forest is a cursed place, so dense that not even sunlight breaks through. Even at noon, rumor has it monsters lurk there. Strange things happen so often that barely anyone dares enter. Even Serpent's Castle sits right in the middle of it, adding to the Basilian family's air of mystery. So why the hell is Kieran heading there? After a while, Belzian speaks. All right, I'll be off. Kieran asked. You look alike, don't you? Belzian replied. If you've lost your mind, please do so quietly on your own, and quit dragging innocent people into your madness. Hearing this, she began to think, Oh my. Talk about tense. Are they really father and son? Kieran smiled and speaks. Surprised? My eldest brother's always been a bit cold, she says. I'm totally fine. Kieran stepped forward and says, All right then. I'll be heading out too. I'll be back by morning at the latest, so don't wait up, she said. Okay. But, Dad, I've got a question. Who do I look like? Then she think again. That was way too suspicious. This is the second time Kieran's told me. I look like someone. Then she recalls that Kieran said, You do. Even back at the orphanage, she recalls that Kieran words. You look alike, don't you? And again, right in front of Belzian. Then she recalls that again Kieran said, Lakeisha, huh? Now that I think about it, things have been oddly quiet. And if he actually mentioned me by name, then maybe me and Elf being adopted wasn't just some coincidence. What are you really after, Kieran? This section deepens the mystery around Kieran, introduces the Holy Empire's hunt for dark magic, brings in Belzian, and strongly hints that Cheshire's adoption was part of a much larger plan. After a while, she smiled and asked, Who do I look like? He replied, That, I'll tell you when I get back. But you have to wait patiently for me, okay? Alright, see you later, she said. Okay. Then she thought, there's definitely something going on. Do they really think I wouldn't notice? And what? Stay put and behave? Not a chance. At that moment she speaks. Today is the day I dig up everything about the Count's family. Once I've gathered all the information, it's goodbye to this place. Suddenly he looked back and thought. A presence. A man in a black mask placed his hand over his mouth and says, You'd better come quietly. Make a single noise, and you'll die on the spot. He was a kidnapper. She think. Why now of all times? When the kidnapper brought him outside, another one was waiting and said, You're back sooner than I expected. First kidnapper says, Damn it, let's hurry and get out of this creepy place. Second kidnapper added, You secured the target, right? First kidnapper, Yeah. Still don't get why Basilian ordered us to kidnap this brat. We searched every damn place to find them. Thought it'd be something big, but just ordinary? They threw her into the carriage. Hearing all this, she began to think, they don't even seem like a big deal. Should I just kill them? But don't they look kind of familiar? Yeah, feels like I've seen them somewhere before, kidnapper said. Red eyes and blonde hair. Ugh, it's right on the. Second kidnapper says, That damn Lystia. Then she lost in thought. What the hell, he's sharper than I thought. Guess I've caused enough trouble digging around that even in this form, they still recognize me. I really can't let them live. Goodbye. Then he raised his hand and began to use magic. Then suddenly, a voice was heard. Hey you guys. A boy stepped forward and asked, What are you doing? I don't recognize you. He was Ishwal Basilian, third son of the Basilian family. First kidnapper said, Young master, we were just delivering flowers. Second kidnapper replied, Yes, we were just about to leave, actually. Seeing him, she began to think, That kid, he's the third son of this house? First kidnapper asked, Is there something you need? That place, Ishwal said. Keep your mouth shut. Well, obviously you weren't delivering flowers. So, you're our adopted youngest sibling. And on top of that, you're pretty. I've never seen anyone as pretty as me before. Hearing this, she think, What the hell is with this narcissist? Ishwal pulled his cheek and said, Interesting. You got kidnapped, but you're not even crying. Are you stupid or something? She think, This bastard. Kidnapper shouted loudly, Just kill them both. Ishwal used magic and said, So annoying. Suddenly, everything started floating in the air. Then he speaks, I was going to wait until the baby cried for help. But since you decided to hasten your deaths, there's no helping it. Goodbye. Then he killed them. Blood was everywhere in the air. He stepped forward and says, Still not crying. Then he asked, When are you going to cry, little sibling? Hearing this, she think, Seriously, this house is full of lunatics. Meanwhile, Belzian was busy working in his office when there was a knock at the door. He said, Come in. Ishwal asked, Brother, have you ever seen anything this cute, brother? Belzian replied, So, here's the thing. Ishwal smiled and added, I want this one. Belzian asked, So you actually went through with it? Why bother with something so useless? Hearing this, she began to think, What? He knew I was kidnapped? I never expected to be treated like family, but that's cold. At that moment, Ishwal speaks, Wouldn't it be nice to have something this adorable in our house? Besides, they're fearless, perfect for a Basilian. Right. Then she think again. Do you have a death wish? Belzian said. This isn't just a simple matter of taking in an adopted daughter. Ishwal added. I know, but doesn't it sound fun? Belzian asked. Are you planning to join the Count's madness too? Ishwal smiled and replied. Well, I'm not sure about that, but having a little sister like this doesn't seem so bad. Hearing all this, she think again. Who gave you the right to decide? Belzian speaks. You're just as crazy. You over there. I'll help you escape. Just leave this castle. She think, what? Then she said, but I like it here. Then she think again. What's she saying? I haven't even started. Why would I leave? Belzian asked. You like it here? Why? Then she think. I've never really thought about it. She smiled and replied, well, because I like father. Then she think again. Well, it's not hard to come up with a reason. Hearing this, Belzian asked, what? She doesn't seem brainwashed, Ishua replied. Right, saying she likes father. She might be pretty, but is she mentally all there? Then she lost in thought. Just let it go. More importantly, do you guys even know what your father is up to? At that moment, Belzian asked, do you even understand what might happen to you in this place when you say things like that? Ishua, you know it too. The Count's plan. Ishua replied. Yes. That disgusting act trying to bring the dead back to life. Hearing all this, she lost in thought. What? Bringing people back to life? Life and death are within the domain of the gods. Defying death means standing against the gods themselves, and because it requires an enormous price, even among wicked necromancers, resurrection magic is considered taboo. A necromancer of the Count's level should know that. What is he thinking? After a while, Ishul smiled and speaks. But brother, I have no intention of sacrificing the baby as an offering. She think. Wait, was I supposed to be the sacrifice? Unbelievable. Belzian added. Yeah, I don't want to be part of that disgusting planite. Suddenly, Count Kiern came and said, that hurts my feelings. My dear, beloved children, what were you all talking about without your dear father? My lovely children, except for Dad. Then he asked, were you talking about something secret? I wish you would share it with Dad too. She lost in thought. So Jiren was planning a resurrection spell? Could it be, because of that incident? About 15 years ago, Count Basilian was said to have fallen in love with a woman he met by chance in the Black Forest. No one knew why she was there or what her status was, but the Count adored her deeply. So much so that he even went to the Emperor himself to have her granted noble status so they could marry. They had such a loving relationship that they even had 3 sons. It seemed like their happiness would continue forever, but one day, the Countess suddenly passed away. The exact cause of death was never made public. However, after her death, the Count, who was already rarely seen in public, completely shut himself away in his estate. That is, until the day he came out to adopt a child. So, the sacrifice needed to revive the Countess is me. The fact that the Count was deeply devoted to his wife was well known, and I should have expected this the moment I found out he was a dark magician. But if it was just for a sacrifice, why was he so particular about everything? A few moments later, Belzian pulled a handkerchief from his pocket and offered it to him, saying, the miasma of the Black Forest has affected his mind. Please come inside quickly. Kiern accepted the handkerchief and, while wiping away the blood, smiled and said, it looks like my sons have already grown close to their new sister. That makes Dad very happy. Were you surprised by your father's strange state? I miss Cheshire so much that I came straight here as soon as I returned from the Black Forest. When the Kiern walked over to her, she began to think, the smell of blood. And he doesn't seem entirely sane either. Suddenly, Kiern lifted her up and said, Cheshire is my daughter. How could I possibly use my own Cheshire as a sacrifice? That's absurd. You don't need to listen to your brother's nonsense. There's only one thing I want from you, Cheshire. Hearing this, Cheshire asked, what's that? Then she began to think again. What do you want? Is this the real reason finally being revealed? Kiern replied, to Dad, bring me the Queen of the Fairies' crown. Let's go to the Holy Empire together. Cheshire, the Queen of the Fairies' crown. This item, which the Fairy Queen supposedly offered to the Holy King while praising the gods, is a sacred relic of the Holy Empire, Haldered. Little is known regarding its use or abilities. It is known that only children under 5 years old, the Holy King of the Empire, and the fairies can touch the crown. However, due to the fact that this was made by the heretical beings known as fairies, the Queen of the Fairies' crown sparked heated debates over whether it was truly worthy of being kept as a scared relic. After years of dispute, it was only recently decided to remove from the list of sacred relics, and it was decreed that a prayer meeting would be held to bestow the crown upon the Clid who proves the highest devotion. A prayer meeting would instead be held to bestow the crown upon the child who proves the highest devotion. That is the small saint prayer meeting. That will be held in a few months. The Count was looking for a child to participate in that meeting. The Queen of the Fairies' crown. I had heard rumors about its existence in the underworld, but the army never coveted it. What does Kieran want to use it for? Then she recalled what Kieran had said. You don't need to worry. I will make sure that Chesya comes in first place, because that's what Dad will make happen. It seems like he would do anything to get it. But, no, I don't want to be part of the prayer meeting, even if it kills me. Moreover, the Holy Empire has not only holy knights but also heretical inquisitors stationed there. If I happen to encounter that man there, there's a high chance I'll die. Being a resident of the underworld and a fairy treated as heretical, the Holy Empire and I are incompatible. Kieran is a dark wizard just like me, so what's with all the talk about the Holy Empire? Then she shouted loudly. This is definitely my chance to escape. It would be better to threaten people like before. Now that I know the Count's objective, there's no reason to stay here anymore. If the reason I was adopted is the prayer meeting, then it has nothing to do with the fairy experiment, right? It's a bit disturbing that the object is something related to fairies, but my life comes first. I need to get out of here before something else happens. I've prepared the transparency flower for this moment. Farewell, Basilian! As soon as she ran away, the flower petals were left behind on the ground. Someone was passing by from above and caught the fragrance of the flowers. Then he noticed a single petal lying on the ground. He picked it up and said, Are those petals inside the mansion? He was Basilian's second son, Karha Basilian. Seeing his, she think, damn, of all times, before I get caught, quickly hide. Why does that little brat have such good instincts? I even almost missed the flower in the middle. That was really close. I need to get out of here quickly. When did he chase me all the way here? Then she suddenly appeared in front of him and said, Ah, sorry. Karha asked, What, you're my little sister? That's strange. I followed the trail of petals, but why? Anyway, that's not important. Why are you out at this late hour? Cheshire replied. I was just out for a walk. Then Karha asked, Is this flower yours? I found it on my way here. Cheshire replied. Ah, no. Karha speaks. I feel like I smell something similar. Then stay still for a moment. Cheshire said. What? Then she lost in thought. Wait, what are you doing? No way. Is it really happening? Like this, in such a ridiculous way? Then suddenly, the bells started ringing. Karha says, Looks like an uninvited guest has arrived. I should start by checking the city gates. You take the flower. Meanwhile, a man shouted loudly from the other side. How dare you act so arrogantly? A noble who serves the emperor like this? Kieran asked. Why didn't you come during the day? Count Rudin? Please deliver the imperial decree. Count Rudin replied. Count Basilian, as soon as you receive this letter, you must enter the imperial palace. This is the emperor's command, and failure to comply will be considered treason. Furthermore, you, the newly adopted child of the family, and Cheshire Basilian will both be entering the palace. Hearing all this, Cheshire began to think, Me? This feels strangely unsettling. Count Rudin speaks. The newly adopted child of your family, Cheshire Basilian, will also accompany you to the palace. Hearing this, Cheshire began to think again. What? What kind of royal decree is this? Summoning us to the capital in the dead of night. And they're dragging me along too. Then Count Rudin shouted loudly. Then, let's not waste any time and depart at once. Kieran speaks. Sigh. How inconsiderate to call for us at such an ungodly hour. I was already heartbroken over someone's disappearance, and now this. Then he smiled and asked, Right, Cheshire? Cheshire began to think. You noticed I was gone? Kieran said. I was surprised when you weren't in your room. I thought someone had taken you, and I was about to release the hounds to search for you. Cheshire think again. Why are you so obsessed with me like this? At that moment Kieran asked, were you out for a walk with your brother? Cheshire replied. Yes. Then Karha said, You're really making me feel embarrassed, just like how you used to act with Mother. Is it because the baby takes after Mother? Hearing this, she began to think, Mother? So all this time, when you said I resemble someone, were you talking about the late Countess? Even if that's the case, is it really worth making such a fuss over? Even if I resemble her, it's probably just the hair color or something trivial like that. The beauty of a fairy is crafted from fantasy. It's practically impossible for a human to match it. After a while, Kieran turned back and says, "Now that we've found Cheshire, everyone should prepare to leave. We're heading to the royal palace." The next day, noon. At the royal palace, Kieran said. The royal palace is as grand as ever. She lost in thought. How do I keep getting caught up in these strange situations every time? With this, escaping the Count's household is out of the question for now. Count Rudin came and speaks. "So, when can we have an audience with His Majesty?" "Just wait quietly. Before meeting His Majesty, there's someone you must meet first." Then he added, "Ah, it seems he has arrived. Now, greet him properly." As soon as Hylon arrived, Rudin says, "This is Sir Hylon, a knight of the Holy Empire of Hildred." Seeing him, Cheshire was lost in thought. "Hylon? What are you doing here?" "The head of the Inquisitors, Hylon. The Inquisitors of the Holy Empire of Hildred are an elite group consisting of only 13 individuals who hold such authority. They possess the power of immediate execution, and even the right to grant absolution, making them an immensely powerful. They are the highest-ranking clergy, beneath only the Holy King and the cardinals, and they operating in secrecy across the continent to maintain order. Among them, Hylon is the only one capable of wielding the holy relic known as the Chains of Condemnation, earning him reverence in Hildred as a symbol of divine proof. Before I became a child, I was relentlessly pursued by that very Hylon. The identity of an Inquisitor is classified information. I knew they often disguised themselves as holy knights, but I never expected to encounter one here. There's no way he'd recognize me now that I'd become a child. Right. When Hylon stepped forward and reached out his hand toward Cheshire, she began to think, "What? Why is he suddenly coming toward me? Don't come any closer, you lunatic." Then suddenly Kieran grabbed her hand and said, "Such a noble holy knight." Then he asked, "What business do you have with my daughter?" Hylon replied, "My apologies. She resembles someone I know." Kieran speaks, "A mere 5-year-old child? I'm quite curious who that might be." Hearing this, Count Rudin shouted loudly, "Watch your words, Count Basilian. He is a member of the First Order of the Holy Knights." At that moment Kieran said, "Well then, let's introduce ourselves properly. I am Kieran Basilian," Hylon says. "I am Hylon." Kieran speaks, "But what brings a holy knight to the royal palace? I thought you'd be spending precious time with His Majesty." Then Hylon added, "It was I who requested His Majesty summon you here, Count, to verify the identity of the child attending the sacred prayer meeting. Therefore, I would appreciate it if you could step aside for a moment." Kieran asked, "Identity verification? Does the Holy Empire conduct identity verification so abruptly like this?" Hylon replied, "It was unavoidable to prevent any external interference, especially since the gift for this prayer meeting was once a holy relic. You, Count, should understand the need for extra caution. Please cooperate." Kieran added, "If you insist so threateningly, I have no choice but to comply. But what happened earlier must not happen again." Then he stepped forward and said, "Cheshire, if anything happens, call for your father right away. Even if it's just because you miss me, that's fine too." She smiled and said, "Okay." Then she began to think, "No, don't go. I don't want to be left alone with Hylon." Kieran kissed her head and said, "And remember what I told you. You only need to fulfill one thing. To do that, Cheshire, you mustn't make any mistakes today. Then I'll be back soon, okay?" The Count leaves. She think, "In the end, we're left alone. What does he plan to check first? What if he recognizes me? What should I say? Oh no, he's coming." After a while, Hylon speaks, "No matter how I look at it, you resemble her. Without my knowledge, she might have had a man. Perhaps." Hearing this, she think, "Huh, what on earth is he talking about?" Then he asked, "Are you Lakeisha's daughter?" Hearing this, she shocked and began to think, What nonsense is this? Hylon and my fateful destiny have been intertwined for a long time. The first encounter happened at a time when our destinies were changing drastically. I was exhausted from a life on the run, and Hylon was a knight apprentice of the Holy Empire with a promising future. I made a request to him. Kill me! Of course, he did not accept my request. After our brief encounter, time passed, and we each went our own way. Then she recalled what he had said. Don't die without permission. Now, we find ourselves in an uncomfortable relationship of pursuer and pursued. Each of us believed we had to die at the hands of the other, leaving between us a complex relationship difficult to describe with words. And now you say you met a man? Do you really think someone who knows my situation better than anyone would believe I had time for romance? After a while, he said, It seems it's still too soon to answer that question. Then let's start with the name, she says. Cheshire, he asked. Cheshire. Were you forced to attend the congregation? Then she asked. Forced, what? He replied. There is no such thing. I'm asking if you were forced to attend the congregation. If so, I can help you, she said. I don't need help, he added. I see. What a relief. Then I'll ask again. Did your biological mother, by any chance, have bright blonde hair and red eyes? Or did she mention seeing butterflies or flowers? Anything you remember about her, tell me. Hearing this, she says, I don't know. Then she began to think. What? Are we talking about me again? Just ask about the congregation and end this already. What? What are you doing? Are you crazy? Why are you suddenly taking off your clothes? Then suddenly, Hylon put his hand on his coat and tried to show his chest, and she shouted and began to think. Are you seriously insane? She asked. Could it be? He asked. Have you seen this symbol before? Seeing this, she think again. Was it because of that? I was the one who marked it. Suddenly, Kieran came and asked, This? Do you have a death wish, Sir Hylon? What kind of pathetic display is this for a sacred night in front of a 5-year-old girl? Hylon replied, I just wanted to ask something, Kieran said. And for that, you undressed almost completely? That symbol is the heretic's mark. Why don't you erase it? If you were truly a sacred knight, the normal thing would be to tear off your own skin to get rid of that heretical emblem. Then Hylon asked, Do you know Lycesia? Kieran smiled and replied, Don't tell me. Did you just put on that ridiculous scene, just to ask about the whereabouts of the heretic? Then he lifted the candle handle and placed it against his neck, saying, Cheshire has no relation to the heretic, so don't test my patience any further, and I hope we never see each other again. Seeing this, she think, This just got serious. Won't they end up fighting for real? Hylon speaks. Every child attending the prayer of the lesser saints will be assigned a guardian knight. I have been assigned as the escort for the house of Count Basilian. Kieran smiled and added, Do it. I will make sure to escort her safely to the Holy Empire. Then Hylon asked, Escort? Isn't that a threat? Kieran replied, Consider it however you like. Hylon added, But you'd better be careful with your behavior, Count. There are quite a few watching, Kieran said. Then we will meet again on the day we depart for the Holy Empire. Seeing this, she started thinking, thanks to Kieran's intervention, this ended quickly. But it's not just that Kieran knows me. He also knows about my mark. Then she said, Father! Me! Hug me! She think again. Either way, it seems escaping isn't an option for now. Better to play along and gauge the situation. At that moment she asked, Father, but where did you go? He replied, I went to present myself before His Majesty the Emperor. Just a moment ago, the Emperor of the great Empire of Palin said, You've made a great effort to come, Count Basilian. I apologize for calling you so suddenly. Have you already greeted the Sacred Knight of Hildred? Kieran asked. Sacred Knight? Emperor asked. Count, is there a problem? Kieran replied. Speaks clearly. Then suddenly, Kieran grabbed the Emperor by the collar and added, That bastard is a heretic inquisitor. With what intention did you hand my daughter over? To an inquisitor? After a while he speaks. It's been a while, so we exchanged greetings. But I came back quickly, thinking Cheshire might be waiting for me. She asked. Then do I have to see His Majesty as well? He replied. That won't be necessary. Why would Cheshire have to meet that red pig? Then he smiled and asked, Since we're here, do you want to finish touring the palace with me? She began to think. I feel like I just heard something unbelievable. A short while later, they went to the garden. He speaks. If you see something you like, tell me. I'll have it made the same way for you in the castle. She says. Yes. Then he asked, But, Cheshire, what did you talk about with the knight? Hearing this, she smiled and replied, I asked him if he had a puppy, so I told him he didn't. I did well. Then she think, Well, there's nothing good about telling the truth. He asked, Yes, you did well. Did the knight say anything strange? Hearing this, she think, He still seems worried about what happened earlier. I suppose he fears that, because of Hylon, I might refuse to attend the prayer, or that I might have a bad impression of the Count's house. Should I take this opportunity to get closer? Then she said, Father, Cheshire is on your side. So don't worry. He speaks. Things like this. You didn't have to resemble her so much. A few days later. The Basilian family's townhouse, with still more than 3 months left, until the small saints' prayer meeting, we decided to stay in the capital for the time being. She lost in thought. Everything felt peaceful. Since returning from the palace, Kieran had been away frequently. It's probably because of what happened in the garden. Then she recalled what Kieran had said. There's no need for him to resemble that person too. It's the first time I've ever seen Kieran like that. I'm also curious about what kind of person the Countess is to make him act this way. And since Kieran knows far too much about me, I've decided to delay my escape for now and investigate him further. But leaving the county for a while won't be easy. Is there anything I can investigate from here? Suddenly Ishul came over and said, "Hello, little sibling?" Then Karha came over and asked, "How was the palace?" Ishul asked, "Did you manage to participate in the prayer meeting safely?" She replied, "Yes." Then she began to think, seriously, this damn household is no help at all. With Kieran gone, now it's the twins? Please, just leave me alone. Then both of them asked, "Has the baby eaten? If you're bored, we can play with you." From the window, Belzian watched them talking. As he observed the scene, he fell into thought. So, in the end, that child ended up attending the prayer meeting. Then he said, "What should I do now?" He began to think again. Mother, our once peaceful family, crumbled along with Mother's sudden illness. Then, he remembered what his mother had once told him. "Belzian, Mom has one request for you. Kieran, Daddy will be very sad. You must protect Basilian and your siblings, no matter what." Back then I had replied, "Yes, Mother. I will protect them at all costs." Mother said, "I'm sorry, my dear. You're still so young and yet, I'm placing such a heavy burden on your shoulders." With those final words, Mother left our side forever. Mother's death changed many things. Then, another memory suddenly surfaced in his mind. He remembered Ishul came to him and saying, "Brother, I can't find Mother. I've been looking for her since yesterday, but she's nowhere to be seen." Karha says he can't find Mother's scent either. He also can't find the scent of the sibling who was in Mother's belly. The younger siblings, too young to understand death, searched endlessly for Mother's whereabouts. Ishul says, "Brother, but I couldn't bring myself to say anything. More than anything, Father's condition was far worse than Mother's words had warned. He abandoned not only Basilian's affairs, but even us. He remained beside Mother, even in death." At that moment, I went to Father and said, "Please snap out of it, Father. How long are you going to stay here like this? Mother wouldn't have wanted to see you like this. She wouldn't have wished for this. Please snap out of it and go inside." Then Father says, This isn't right." I shouted loudly, "You, Count Basilian, as the serpent ruling the Black Forest, you have responsibilities and duties." A while later, Father looked up at the sky and suddenly burst into laughter. Father stood up and said, "Basilian." Right. The day Father reminded himself that he was Basilian. Then he says, "I am Count Basilian. So, isn't it possible to bring back someone who's dead?" That day marked his fall and the beginning of his madness. After my mother's death, the Count completely lost his sanity. I stood by him, watching how someone who appeared perfectly fine on the outside was falling apart inside, watching how he ultimately resorted to touching the forbidden. Then he recalled that Father said, "Belzian, I've finally found a way to bring Mom back to life." I watched the entire process unfold. I need to stay focused. Using the holy relic, the crown from the sacred empire, as a sacrifice. The moment his plan to use dark magic was discovered, the downfall of the Basilian family would become inevitable. Even innocent children would be executed for allegedly cooperating. Such a thing is something Mother would never have wished for. But I can't think of any way to stop the Count. With the twins already going along with this madness, even the newly adopted sibling seems to be adapting better than expected. If the sibling Mother had been carrying had been born, they would have looked just like this. At that moment, he recalled that Cheshire says, "It's impressive here, right? Dad made it this way. What on earth could be so great about this? I find everything just repulsive." Suddenly, Kieran came and asked, "What are you staring at like that, Belzian? Have you started to care for your little sibling a little bit now?" Belzian replied, "Don't sneak around like a thief. Make some noise, why don't you, Lord Count? You've dragged such a young child into this. All because of your disgusting greed. Kieran added. Well, won't you call it pure love instead? Belzian asked. What will you do from now on? Kieran said. What? Belzian speaks. You've announced your intention to attend the Sosenjin prayer meeting. From now on, attention will be focused on Basilian. Then Basilian, which has been hiding in the shadows, will surface. So it would be wise to start expanding our influence outward from now on. Kieran stepped forward and says, I'll think about it. Hearing this, Belzian began to think. It's hopeless. He's not even listening to me in the first place. That gaze is surely not directed toward Basilian's future. It's directed only toward the dead past. Meanwhile, Karha said, Hey, look here. Ishul asked, Should I hug you? She said. How annoying. Belzian lost in thought. But I cannot lose the future by clinging to the past, especially because of the promise I made to Mother. Then he speaks, My lord, I will protect this family. Then he lost in thought. Just as you are willing to break taboos by any means, I, too, will do whatever it takes. I will stop you. No matter what. After a while, Karha said, Baby, try this. Ishul speaks. No, eat this first. A few more weeks had passed since arriving at the capital townhouse. Karha says, Try the cookie first. Ishul said. The cake will taste better. Cheshire began to think. By now, I had gotten used to the twins' attention. They had been the youngest until now, so they must be excited to finally become older brothers. They see me as an interesting presence. Well, I figured they might be useful someday, so I was working on building a good relationship with them for now. But when am I supposed to start my investigation? The maids were laughing at seeing them like this. A maid said, Now that the young lady is here, the whole house feels brighter. How adorable. Suddenly, a servant came and says, Young lady, young masters, young master Belzian has ordered me to escort you. Ishul asked, Huh? Why? He replied, Count and Countess Rudin have come to visit. They all went to him. Seeing them, the Countess said, What an adorable young master and young lady. Then Cheshire saw him and began to think, That person. Isn't that the noble who came last time to deliver the imperial decree? What brings them here this time? After a while, Countess smiled and said, Nice to meet you. I am Countess Rudin. We have been given an imperial decree to educate you all in proper etiquette, which is why we are here today. At that moment, Rudin speaks. His Majesty wished to personally welcome the new child of the Count's family, and has sent us as a gesture of that welcome. Consider it an honor. This is the kind of education that should have been received at the Count's estate in the first place. Hearing this, Cheshire began to think. The last time I saw them, the Emperor and Kieran didn't seem to be on good terms. So as expected, this is about surveillance, isn't it? Belzian's expression says as much. Then Countess speaks. Now then, shall we begin with Lady Cheshire? There's much to cover, so we must be diligent with our lessons from now on. The Count's daughter can't behave as she did at the orphanage. Hearing this, Cheshire began to think again. Starting off with such a petty insult, it's not even worth responding to. Hearing this, Karha drew his sword, placed it at the Countess's throat, and said, Watch your mouth. There are ears listening, you know. Ishul speaks. Hearing things like that puts us in a difficult position. It really makes us think whether or not we should kill you. Hearing all this, Belzian was shocked and shouted loudly, Karha! Ishul! Then Belzian said, I apologize. They are still young and immature. Please be generous and forgive their rudeness. Seeing all this, Rudin got angry and shouted loudly, You! Both father and son, utterly devoid of manners. Is this the so-called lineage of House Basilian? Leaving a mere child as their representative. Where on earth is Count Basilian? Belzian said. Count Basilian is. Rudin speaks. Now I see what kind of place the serpent's house truly is. This is why those raised without a mother are so obvious in their behavior. I will not let this matter slide. Make sure to deliver my words firmly to the Count. Then they left. At that moment, Ishul shouted loudly, Brother, allow me to deal with that bastard right now. Belzian said. Enough. Please, just stop. At that moment, Cheshire says, Our brother was insulted. This is humiliating. Then she think, Wow, the atmosphere is completely ruined. Ishul speaks. She was the one who picked a fight with the baby first. Should I just kill her? But if brother finds out, he'll be furious. Hearing this, she began to think, of all times, this had to happen when Kieran isn't around. With this incident, House Basilian has given the Emperor an excuse against them. That's a problem, but more than that. This is why those raised without a mother are so obvious. There's no way it wouldn't hurt after hearing something like that. Then she recalled that, someone said, those without parents always stand out. What would an orphan know? Get lost. I know that feeling of despair better than anyone. Suddenly, at that moment, she says, please let Cheshire down. Then she began to think again. I need to go see Belzian, since I'm already infiltrating. There's no harm in being nice, right? She ran after Belzian, and when he opened the door, she saw him sitting in a corner, crying. Then she stepped forward and said, I'll just stay here for a moment. After a while, she think, I feel like I should comfort him, but, honestly, I'm not sure what to do. I guess I'll just stay by your side, like I did for Hatta. Then suddenly he said, Karha and Ishwal stepped in because you carry the name of Basilian. It's not for your sake, and I'm the one who doesn't want you to become a Basilian. Trying to flatter me won't do you any good. Hearing all this, she speaks. What's flattery? Here, take this. Seeing this, he said, what? She speaks. It's because smelling the flowers makes me feel better. Here, Belzian. Seeing this, he recalled that mother said, smelling the flowers will make you feel a bit better. At that moment, he says, now stop it. Then he said, wiping away his tears, I just want to keep the promise I made to my mother. But the Count and my siblings are doing whatever they want. But I have to protect the family. Only Basilian can remember my mother. I want to protect what's precious to me. So I won't let you become a Basilian. If you join in the Count's insane plan, the family will surely fall apart. And I don't want an innocent child to be used either. I know you're still too young to understand what this means. Hearing all this, she think, crying and acting all mature. He's just a little kid. Then he speaks. So don't get too attached. I'll make sure to send you away as soon as possible. Now stop doing unnecessary things and go. She says. Yes, he said. Thank you for the flowers. Began to think. It's not enough that they insulted me. I can't have you acting like you did at the orphanage. Leaving a child as a representative. Touching someone so much younger than themselves. Meanwhile, Cheshire began to think. This is such an oddly irritating situation, isn't it? It's been a while, but I think it's time to teach that brat a proper lesson. That night, Count Rudin's estate. Rudin was sitting in his room, laughing, and then he said, that feels so refreshing. To think that Basilian couldn't even move in front of me. Then he began to think, just receiving the imperial decree alone guarantees me a new title and territory. And on top of that, I can make Count Basilian apologize. At that moment, he said, just thinking about it makes me feel full. He suddenly lost consciousness. Cheshire was silently watching this and thinking, there you are, Count Ludin. Did you think you could have fun using us? I'll return it all to you now. Suddenly, a huge teddy bear fell on top of him. He said, who's there? When he opened his eyes, he was shocked and asked, what is? Lakesia appeared and said, hello? Welcome to my illusory realm. Seeing her, Rudin was shocked and shouted, you, the witch, Lakesia? Then he ran away in fear and started thinking, what the hell is going on? Wasn't she supposed to have disappeared? No, more importantly, why did she come for me? Seeing him scared like that, Lakesia began to think, how pathetic, Count. Playing with you in the illusory realm is really the most fun. Besides, in here, I can return to my original form. But I can't leave my place empty for too long. So as much as I'd love to keep playing, I should wrap this up. She snapped her fingers, and stones rose up around him. Then she speaks. Oh my, you got caught already? How boring, he said. Please spare me. I have a wife and rabbit-like children to take care of, she says. Oh really? That's funny. I also have a snake-like brother and a father. Then a rope wrapped around his neck. He shouted loudly. Please spare my life. What reason do you have for doing this? She asked. A reason, huh? What do you think when you kill an annoying bug, Count? He replied. Absolutely nothing, she said. Exactly. I don't need a grand reason to kill you, do I? Now then, where should I start? He says. Kids without mothers, she added, always have such sharp tongues. Just as she was about to kill him, he felt something and began to think. A power surge is coming from outside the illusory realm. Oh no, I haven't killed him yet. I need to hide first. She hid. As soon as the door opened, Kieran came inside. Then she began to think. Did the morning incident reach Kieran's ears already? Even so, He still rushed over because he's my father? Seeing him, Rudin said, "Please, my life." Then Kieran snapped his fingers, and he woke up and said, "Huh! Count Basilian, was this your doing? Using illusions to play tricks in the middle of the night? Such arrogance." Kieran asked. "What nonsense are you spouting? Did you wake up from a nightmare?" Then he said, "I only came here as you wished, to apologize." Rudin shouted loudly, "This is black magic? Where did you get such wicked power? The divine shall punish you." Then Rudin suddenly fell down and bowed at Kieran's feet. Kieran placed his foot on his head and said, "You sure have a lot to talk about." Rudin says, "Hold on, this is a misunderstanding." Kieran added, "What part of this is a misunderstanding? While I was away, you used the imperial decree to barge into my home?" Rudin says, "That," Kieran speaks, "you insulted my child for being from an orphanage, and mocked them for being motherless? Or was it that you ordered Count Basilian to personally come and apologize?" Rudin said, "Please spare my life. I won't tell anyone if you let me go." Then Kieran says, "I just don't feel like sparing you. Instead, I'll end this quickly. My little daughter is waiting for me at home. I'll finish this quickly for you. My young daughter is waiting for me at home. There's no need to be so nervous." So Kieran used magic, and Count Rudin ended up willingly preparing to hang himself. Then Kieran said, "Smile, won't you, Count?" Then Rudin hang himself. Seeing this, she began to think, "Kieran, this one is even crazier than I thought. I thought it would just be a warning at best, but I didn't think he'd go as far as killing. The problem is, the events that took place at the Basilian estate today will undoubtedly be reported to the Emperor by Count Rudin. If Rudin is found dead the very next day, Basilian will inevitably be suspected. I plan to conclude it as merely being caught up in the whims of that witch, but suddenly intervening has only complicated matters. What on earth is he trying to do?" After a while, Kieran said, "Oh dear, I must return quickly. Cheshire will be waiting." Hearing this, she was shocked and began to think, "This isn't the time for this. I need to return quickly too." A little later, at the Basilian family townhouse, she think, "Phew, luckily I'm not late. I made it just in time. I need to get to the room quickly." At that moment, Kieran came and said, "Cheisha," she says. "Ah, Dad." As soon as Kieran picked her up, she thought, could it be that he saw the power of the fairy? Then he asked, "When did you get here, Cheshire?" He started to love her. She thought again, "Wait a moment. What's with him now? This smell lingering since earlier, could it be? Is he drunk?" After a while, he asked, "My cute little Cheisha, should I give you some snacks? You like these, don't you?" She think, "He's definitely drunk." I didn't notice because Count Rudin smelled of alcohol too. But was Kieran drunk as well? His actions were so precise that I didn't realize it. Looking at how he staged it as a suicide instead of killing outright, he seemed to have a certain level of judgment. Perhaps he kept himself sharp until he got home, and then relaxed once he arrived. After a while, she replied, "I like cookies," he says. "Right. I brought these thinking of you, Cheisha. I'm glad you like them." At that moment, she recalled what he had said. "A young daughter is waiting for me at home." Then she think, "Even in my absence, I'm being cared for as though I'm his child. Bringing cookies while drunk, no less. It's been a long time since I felt cared for by someone." Then he raised his hand and, while casting magic, said, "Now that I've found Cheisha, shall we head to bed soon?" "Well then, I'll sleep with Cheisha tonight." She thought, "Are you planning to sleep without even changing your clothes?" Then he speaks, "The one who dared to insult Basilian was dealt with far too easily. Dad seems a bit strange today. Sorry. I should have drunk in moderation, but the intoxication hit me once I got home." Hearing this, she lost in thought. Kieran, who was a terrifying executioner to Count Rudin, becomes nothing but soft in front of me. Kieran's eyes, which suited him best when shining with malice, now resembled the red eyes of a boy who had broken down in tears, comforted by the innocent words of a child who knew nothing. Could it be my imagination? After a while he speaks, "Cheisha. Cheisha Basilian. What should I do? Every time I see Cheisha, I keep remembering. It's painful, and yet it feels good. I miss you." Then she thought again. He fell asleep without realizing it. Still, he misses the Countess. The Countess of the Basilian family. Even in the Serpent's Castle, her portrait or belongings could not be found. The servants never mention her either, as if speaking of her itself is taboo. but on the rare occasions when the Countess is mentioned, the people of Basilian show a completely different side from usual. Then she recalled what Belzian had said. Is it because the baby resembles her mother? The Count's estate is the only place where memories of her can remain. She didn't need to resemble even this. How much could she possibly resemble me anyway? Still, honestly, it's not like I feel bad about it or anything. When he called me Basilian, he recalled what he said. Chesha Basilian. It truly felt like I had become part of the family. No, this is not the time to get lost in sentiment. Lately, I've been spending so much time with the Basilians that I keep forgetting I'm only temporary here. With Kieran deeply intoxicated and unlikely to wake up today, I'll resume the investigation. Today, I'll finally uncover the proper information. At that moment, in the underworld, Hadda said, "Welcome. Are you looking for a specific item or perhaps?" Then he shouted, "You! Let go of me! Do you think Lady Lakeisha will let you off if you mess with me?" Hylon speaks. Probably. Then, let's wait together and see when your master will come to rescue you, witch's dog. After a while, she uses magic and arrives in Kieran's study room. Seeing the study room, she falls into thought. This is Kieran's study. Ever since coming to the capital, this is where Kieran has spent most of his time. It has always been a place to tread carefully. Kieran always appears when you least expect it. Hopefully, I'll find something this time. Then she uses magic to take down the books. At that moment, she saw a piece of paper and said, "A piece of paper sticking out from between the books?" The paper was fluttering. When she looked at the paper, it had written on it, "Regarding the witch, Lakeisha." She think, "A report about me?" Then next morning, Kieran said, "Cheshire, try eating this too. Do you dislike vegetables? You should eat a balanced diet." She says, "Okay." Then Karha speaks. "What's going on?" "She's actually eating breakfast," Ishul said. "Like I know." Karha added, "Father's eccentricities aren't exactly new." Then she lost in thought. "It's driving me crazy. The report I found in the study last night. It contained extremely detailed information about me, from the secrets of my birth, to the experiences I had growing up, and even my recent activities. Why did Kieran investigate me? Some of this information would be impossible to obtain without deep connections to the underworld. I spent all night searching, but I didn't find anything new. Sitting through breakfast with all this anxiety is suffocating." After a while reading the newspaper, Kieran said, "You didn't like Count Luden's report. They say it was a heart attack. A shame." Hearing this, she think, "A heart attack. Nobles consider taking one's own life a disgrace. So the death of Count Luden, who once served the great son of the Palan Empire, is being hidden in this way." Kieran must have accounted for even this when dealing with Count Luden. After hearing everything, Belzian suddenly asked, "Why did you kill him?" Hearing this, she began to think again. As expected, you caught on immediately. Then Belzian said, "I could have handled it myself. Even if you hadn't intervened, I would have resolved it in a way befitting the Basilian name." "Have you suddenly developed a sense of responsibility for our house?" Kieran asked. No. You think I killed him?" Belzian asked. "Did you handle the aftermath properly?" "Of course," Kieran replied. "Should I reread the newspaper? But I must admit, it was a bit of a letdown to kill him in secret. He should have been executed in the public square." At that moment, he recalled what Rudin said. "This is why those raised without a mother. It's rather unpleasant being on the receiving end." Then he speaks. "Oh, and since we have an adorable new youngest member, as you suggested, I'm thinking of bringing Basilian back into the public eye." Then he asked, "What do you think?" Belzian replied, "It's what I wanted. But keep this in mind. Once Basilian is revealed, you must restrain yourself from such actions. Otherwise," Kieran speaks. Yeah. "It all begins with the banquet hosted by the Duke of Ebroil. I've hired new tutors, so everyone should focus on their studies." At that moment, he asked, "What about the outfits, Ishul?" Ishul smiled and said, "The tailor will have them ready within the week." Kieran added, "Good. I'll make sure to clear my schedule then. Now keep an eye on the chessboard, and don't cause any trouble." She began to think, Kieran is heading out again today. Then she said, "Thank you for the meal. I'll be in my room alone." Karha asked, "Why?" She replied, "I have a lot on my mind." Then Ishul asked, "Why?" She went to her room, closed the door, and then started thinking. Some capital nobles dabble in the underworld, trying to flaunt their boldness. But I don't think Kieran got involved for such a simple reason. Then she recalled what Kieran said. Which, now that I think about it, things have been quiet lately. That crest. The mark of the witch! Then she remembered the paper she had seen earlier. The fairy seemed quite calculating. Kieran's goal is to resurrect the deceased countess. He turned to dark magic to achieve it, but that alone likely wasn't enough. To make up for that insufficient power, he sought fairy magic, and in the process of uncovering that fact, he might have experimented on fairies. Have I grown complacent, indulging in this family game? I assumed Kieran's only goal was resurrection magic, and dismissed the possibility of fairy experiments. I should have considered that angle as well. To uncover the link between Kieran and the underworld, I need help. I'll reach out to Hata first. Then she created a butterfly and released it. When Butterfly came back, she said, "Why isn't the homing spell working?" No way. Then she lost in thought. This butterfly, created with my fairy magic, can track the location of the marked target. It only fails when the target is either dead or another spell is interfering. Which means, in this case, someone got to Hata. Who dares? The day the rain poured down as if the sky had been torn open was the day I first met Hata. Hata had been abandoned in an alley, on the brink of death, the child, discarded after being experimented on to create an eternally small and young pup. Due to the side effects, unlike other beast folk, he couldn't even hide his animal ears and tail. A beast folk of a rare species, judging by the state he was in, he must have been experimented on, and then discarded. Could this be connected to the fairy experiments too? Normally, I would have just walked by. But that day, I let my whims get the better of me. I brought her with me and treated him. He woke up and said, "You even treated me, thank you. I don't know how I could ever repay this kindness." A few days later, Hata barely managed to survive, but, he says, "I'm sorry I couldn't be of any help. I don't remember what happened to me at all. Whether it was due to the after effects of the experiment or not, his memory was incomplete." I said, "I see. Unfortunately, not a useful one. Still." Then I speaks, "If you want to survive here, you should learn how to hide your ears and tail." Then I used magic to make his ears disappear. Seeing this, he was shocked. In the underworld, this much kindness is more than enough. I even hid his identity. He should be able to survive on his own. Then I said, "Once you've recovered, go back to where you came from." Suddenly, he asked, "But, can I stay with you?" The half-blood beast folk wanted to swear his loyalty to me. Hearing this, I was shocked and asked, "What? He can barely survive alone. Yet he's saying such nonsense." Then I said, "I have no intention of keeping a pet dog." He says, "You asked about the experiments, right? I'll help you, fairy. I don't have any information right now, but..." At that moment I speaks, "You think just because I helped you once, I'll keep doing it? I don't have the time to drag something like you around. You got the wrong idea, so get out of my sight." That should be enough to make him leave on his own. Even so, Hata continued to hover around me. He smiled and said, "Look at this. I made it for you, fairy. I gathered some information, Lady Recessia." As if he was desperate to prove his worth to avoid being discarded again. Then he says, "Fairy, I crafted an accessory that suits you." Seeing this, I lost in thought. Are all dogs like this? I should accept it and make it clear that this needs to stop. At that moment I said, "I'll take this, so stop following me, Aurea." He speaks, "You accepted it?" I asked. "What?" He smiled and says, "Fairy, you finally accepted something I made. I'm so happy. It was the first time since I had become a witch. The wicked witch. That damn wretch. The daughter of a mad fairy, they say. What kind of havoc will she wreak this time? That someone was happy because of me." Even after that, Hata continued to follow me without fail. He came and said, "Fairy, this time, I made a new potion. I guess having one little pup around isn't so bad." In the end, I decided to take Hata in. After thinking about all this, she gets angry. She think again. If it's the underworld scum, they wouldn't be unaware of what Hata means to me. Just who had the guts to pull something like this? To save Hata, I need to return to my original form first. The problem is that the potion for that is in Hata's shop. But if they realize I've disappeared, things could get messy. First, I need to assess the situation. Then she comes out of the room and sees the big brothers. Seeing her, Ishul said, "Che Shah, We have something urgent to take care of, so we're heading out. Let's play together when we get back, okay? At that moment, Karha called out. Hurry, we need to go quickly, Ishul said. Got it. Then I'll see you later. She think. What perfect timing. She suddenly goes to Hata's shop, and seeing its condition, she starts thinking. What the? Hata's shop is a complete mess? The money and goods are untouched, so it hasn't been robbed. Damn it. At that moment, she recalled what he had said. You're giving the shop away? To me? Then I replied. Yeah. Your craftsmanship is too good to waste, so you might as well make something of it. Then he cried and clung to me, saying, I'll turn this into the most successful hat shop ever. From today, this shop is Hata's #1 treasure. And yet they trashed the shop he treasured so much, and took Hata too. I won't let them die an easy death. Wait for me, Hata. I'll come to save you soon. Then she went to the lower part of the shop and said, A potion that makes you bigger? This one literally increases body size. Is it this one? A potion for baby fairies, she says. What's with the heart? At that moment, Karha came into the shop and, seeing its condition, said, What the hell? The shop's been completely ransacked. Looks like there's nothing left to salvage. She think. That voice. Karha? Why is he here? He said he had urgent business to attend to. What's going on in the underworld? Could it be that not just Kiran, but the entire Basilian family is connected to the underworld? Focus. Now's not the time for wild speculation. With Karha's beast-like senses, he'll track me down in no time. I need to drink it now. Then she returned to her original form. She continued thinking. Good. Looks like this was the right potion. I need to get out of here fast. Then Karha suddenly opened the door and said, Why the hell does a clothing shop have a secret room? And why does it kind of smell like a baby was in here? Then suddenly, his eyes fell on the potion bottle. He picked up the bottle, looked at it, and said, What's this? A potion for baby fairies. Meanwhile, she came into the marketplace and shouted loudly, Come out this instant. The people shouted loudly, It's the witch! Lakeisha? I thought she was died. She shouted loudly again, Who the hell dared to touch Hata? Come out right now! Then she lost herself in thought. After investigating Hata's whereabouts in the underworld, I discovered that while I was infiltrating Basilian, the Holy Knights were stirring up the underworld. Considering how their movements ceased the moment Hata disappeared, it's highly likely that the Holy Knights took Hata as a hostage, to lure me out after my sudden disappearance. That means the only way is to throw them some bait, and make them crawl out on their own. Then, just as she was about to attack the people, a voice called out, Wait, and her scythe was stopped by a rope. She asked, And who are you? He replied, First, I apologize for the intrusion. I am Jahan, Master's direct subordinate. By Master's command, I have come to escort you, Lady Lakeisha. Hearing this, she began to think, Jahan, Master's executioner? Damn it. Of all times, why is Master interfering now? Master. Little is known about his true identity, but he commands the executioners, warriors who rival the Holy Knights in skill. That makes him the true ruler of the underworld. The underworld originally belonged to the fallen Great Empire. However, due to a sudden and inexplicable curse, it became a barren wasteland where no life could grow. Over time, outcasts who couldn't blend into normal society gathered there. Through generations of Master's involvement, a vast underground economy was established. Eventually, the underworld became an unspoken neutral zone where the dark forces of every continent crossed paths. Master is the only one capable of maintaining even a minimal sense of order here, or so they say. Master, who never intervened no matter how much chaos I caused in the underworld, is looking for me now? After a while, Jahan asked, So, may I escort you immediately? She replied, No. Finding my dog comes first, Jahan said. That is related to this matter as well. She asked, Are you saying Master knows where Hata is? Jahan replied, Master sees and hears everything in this place, so please come with me. Then she goes with Jahan. Master's residence is officially unknown, but everyone has a good guess. In this land where nothing but dust swirls year-round, there is one place filled with the luscious greenery. The moment you approach it without permission, death greets you without hesitation. Seeing this garden, she thought, a garden like this in a land where not even weeds grow. How rich is this guy? After some time, they reached the Master. Jahan said, Now then, let's talk. She began to think. Master, is he behind that curtain? Master said. Witch Lakeisha. This is our first time meeting in person. She think again. Just being in the same space as him feels suffocating. But I can't let myself be intimidated. Master asked. Do you realize the trouble you're causing right now? Lakeisha replied. Skip the formalities and get to the point. Master speaks. You are aware that the Holy Knights have been stirring up the underworld recently, right? As you know, even the Holy Empire, which goes mad at the mere mention of heretics, has always adhered to the unspoken rule of never interfering here. This situation is highly unusual, Lakeisha says. So? Master added. Among the knights tearing this place apart, there's a high-ranking one with ties to you. Hearing this, Lakeisha said. What? Then she began to think. Among the high-ranking holy knights, there's only one person who could be connected to me. Hylon. I was wondering which reckless fool had broken the unspoken rule. And it just had to be Hylon. Still, I should test the master. Just in case. At that moment, Lakeisha speaks. Who knows? I haven't heard anything, so I have no idea. Hearing this, Master said. Yet after marking a rather delicate part of that holy knight's body, you expect me to believe you don't know? After hearing those words, Lakeisha froze in shock and began to think. Yeah, it's definitely Hylon. Then she says, I just wasn't sure. But I must say, you found out quite an interesting detail. Do you have a habit of stripping holy knights for fun or something? Master said. Which, I actually find you rather amusing. Do make sure you survive for a long time and keep bringing interesting chaos to the underworld. But do not let your curiosity stray toward me. She speaks. Don't order me around. Master added. It's not an order. It's advice. She says. Oh, of course. Sure it is. Anyway, all I have to do is handle that holy knight business. Right? If we're done here, I'm off to find my dog. Master said. Fine. I just hope you can handle it on your own so I don't have to summon you again. At that moment, Jahan came and speaks. Allow me to escort you out, she says. No time for that. Then she lost in thought. This confirms that the one who kidnapped Hatta is most likely Hylon. I left a mark on Hylon too. I just need to use it to go straight to him. Then she went where Hatta was. She then saw Hatta lying unconscious. At that moment, Hylon speaks. All this trouble over a mere beast skin. You walked straight into your grave, she said. You really crossed the line this time. What the hell are you doing all this for? Hylon replied. A reason, That night, the full moon shone just as brightly as it is now. You remember that night too, don't you, witch? So today, I need to hear it. That night. Why did you leave me? I have to hear it today. Why did you leave me that day? Hearing this, she lost in thought. That day. It was shortly after I awakened my fairy powers, 5 years ago. At that moment, she remembered what had happened 5 years ago. She was running, lost in thought. How long? How long do I have to keep running like this? On a night like any other, I was being hunted down by trackers. Trackers shouted loudly. We've almost got her cornered. Don't be scared. She still can't even control her powers properly. But that night, I had an unspeakable feeling that I might really die today. I never wanted to be born a fairy. I just wanted to live a normal life. Then she stumbled and fell to the ground. The trackers had shouted, Now! Catch her quickly! So this is how it ends. Just like that. So meaningless. Then she saw a child. His eyes as pure as the sky and sea. A presence so inexplicably divine. I had a sudden thought. If I'm destined to die here anyway, I'd rather be killed by this person. At least then, my corpse wouldn't be defiled. At that moment, she said, Please, kill me. She then fainted, and when she woke up, she was in a bed. She started thinking, when did I lose consciousness? Am I still alive? My arms and legs are fine. I really thought I was going to die. Or maybe, I was captured alive. Would that even be any different from death? Of course, I fear death. But this kind of life constantly on the run, with nowhere to belong, does it really have any meaning? Maybe. It would have been easier if I had died back then. Hunters? Then the boy came. She think, why is he here? Don't tell me, is he with them? He stepped forward and said, You must be hungry. Eat at least a little. She asked, Are you one of them? He replied, Of course not. Then he tasted the food and said, Here, it's safe to eat. So eat without worry. You've run far enough, so you don't have to be afraid for now. Seeing this, she think, can I really trust him? Every time I put my faith in someone, it always ends in betrayal. But maybe, just this once, I can try believing again. Before I knew it, I was crying in front of a total stranger. How humiliating! How much longer will I have to repeat this miserable life? Then he said, tonight, the moon will be beautiful. Because it's a full moon. Seeing this, she think, how long has it been since I last looked up at the sky? That full moon that night was so breathtaking, it sent chills down my spine. The fact that I could see it, the fact that I could feel its beauty. In the end, it was only because I survived. Then she said, you saved me, didn't you? He replied, yeah. She added, thank you for helping me. He speaks, I don't know what happened to you, but I have no intention of harming you. You can relax. I am a Holy Empire Knight in training. Hearing this, she was shocked and began to think, the Holy Empire? That's the place that executes heretics without mercy. Does he not know I'm a fairy yet? I need to escape before he finds out. If he realizes what I am, something even worse might happen to me. If that person finds out that I'm a fairy, it'll become even more dangerous than the hunters. I need to run away quickly, but my body has no strength at all. Then he walked over to her and wrapped a blanket around her shoulders. She asked, what are you doing? He replied, just get some rest. I won't harm you. You can't even open your eyes properly right now. She think again, yeah, trying to run in this state would just get me caught sooner or later. At least I haven't been found out yet. It's better to recover some strength first. I'll rest for a bit and leave here first thing tomorrow. However, my plan to escape before Hylan woke up collapsed due to a sudden fever. After spending another restless day being cared for, I was finally able to regain some energy. Then, when she woke up, he asked, are you feeling better? She replied, yeah. At that moment, she lost in thought. In the end, I ended up owing another debt instead of escaping. But, then she asked, why are you helping me? He asked, do I need a reason to help someone? Then he said, Hylan. She asked, what? He replied, my name is Hylan. I just wanted you to at least know my name. At that moment, Hylan asked, what's your name? Hearing this, she lost in thought. Can I really tell him my name? He might become my enemy someday. But since he saved me, just my name should be fine. After a while, she replied, my name is. Then, suddenly, a noise came from below. She looked out the window, and the sight made her freeze in fear. She began to think, could it be? Slave hunters. So they finally found my trail. Damn it. Of all times, I had to catch a fever now. Then Hylan asked, are those the ones who did this to you? She replied, yeah, they're slave hunters. If you leave me behind and run away now, Hylan asked, why would I? She speaks, are you insane? If they find out you hid me, you won't be safe either. Besides, there are more than 10 of them. Even if we run now, it's dangerous. Hylan added, not anymore. I already took care of about half of them yesterday. Then she think, you took care of the hunters? Even with my fairy powers, I couldn't stand a chance against them. But an apprentice knight managed to fight them off without a single scratch, Hylan said. So don't worry about it. She speaks, if that's true, then it's really impressive. But even if you help me, I have nothing to repay you with. At that moment, Hylan drew his sword and said, I don't need anything in return. I'll be back. Just wait here for a bit. She lost in thought. Not only did he save me, but now he's putting his life on the line. How can he say he expects nothing in return? Is it really okay to just let him go? But if I want to escape, now's my chance. If what Hylan said is true, at least he won't die. He's destined to become a holy knight anyway. Nothing good will come from getting involved with me. We are beings who can never be close. So for both of our sakes, leaving now is the right choice. Yeah, this is for the best. Then she jumped out of the window and said, I'm sorry. I truly hope you'll be safe. She began to think again. Thanks to Halen's help, I survived that day. After years of running, I finally mastered my fairy powers. As beautiful as a rose, yet as cruel as its thorns, my infamy spread far and wide. And one day, the world began calling me the demon fairy. Even while wielding my axe recklessly, I sometimes found myself wondering, what happened to that boy that night? Did he survive? Did he officially become a holy knight? Did he ever find out that I was a fairy? If he did, does he regret saving me? Does he feel betrayed that I abandoned him and ran away? Would he want to kill me if he saw me now? These questions lingered in my mind for a long time, and my curiosity made me dream of meeting that boy again. Then boy who helped me, just once before I die. But when we finally crossed paths again, it was far from a romantic reunion. All that remained between us was the urge to kill each other. At that moment, Hyeon asked, "Why aren't you answering? Are you refusing to respond this time too?" She replies, "The past is just the past, no matter what I say. The fact that I ran away back then won't change." The esteemed inquisitor of heresy, digging through the underworld just to provoke me. "Is that really all you came for?" Hyeon asked. "Then, why have you suddenly vanished lately?" Then she began to think. "You even kidnapped Hada. So I thought you finally came to settle this once and for all. But all you do is ask pointless questions?" she said. "That's none of your." Then she placed her hand over her mouth and fell into deep thought. "What? Something feels strange. This tingling sensation. Like I'm about to sneeze. It's the same feeling as when I first turned into a child. Suddenly, what is happening to me? What the? My body feels strange all of a sudden. This ticklish sensation. I feel like sneezing. Don't tell me. Am I about to turn into a baby again? I definitely took the potion to stay normal. Why is this happening now? No, no, no. Not now anytime but now. If I turn into a baby here, Hyeon will find out I was pretending to be a baby in front of him. That would be beyond humiliating. I can't let that happen. I need to get to the illusion area fast." As soon as she used magic, smoke spread everywhere, and in that very moment she turned into a baby. Hada shouted loudly, "Lord Lakesia!" She continued thinking, "That was seriously close. I need to hurry into the illusion area and regain my adult form. Once the illusion fades, my baby form will be exposed, so I have to deal with this inside here, no matter what." After a moment, she regained her original appearance. Hyeon said, "I don't know what scheme you're cooking up, but today you won't escape, which, she think, damn it." Suddenly, Hada came and shouted loudly, "You bad white-haired rat. Stop bothering Lord Lakesia already," she says. "It's fine, Hada. I'm not out of cards just yet," Hada said. "Lord Lakesia," she speaks, "Hyeon, let's cut to the chase. How about we make a deal?" At that moment, she cast a spell, and the spear of Rubius appeared in her hand. Then she speaks, "I'll hand over the holy relic you've been so desperately chasing, and in return, we'll end this here and go our separate ways." The spear of Rubius. She lost in thought. My prize for defeating the Holy Knight's commander. The Holy King pulled every string to reclaim it, but there was no way he could find the spear inside my illusion area, and I had plenty of fun using it to toy with the Holy Knights. After a while, she said, "Take this and leave the underworld immediately. Returning with it might just earn you a sliver of forgiveness, but if you refuse, I'll shatter the relic into pieces." Then she lost in thought again. After dragging a holy knight into the underworld and causing a massive uproar, if word gets out the relic was destroyed too, even he won't escape the fallout. You've got no choice, Hyeon. Deal or disaster. Hyeon stood there in silence, staring at her as thoughts ran through his mind. She think, why isn't he saying anything? At that moment, Hyeon said, "You usually rush in swinging, yet now you're trying to negotiate? That's not like you. It's already suspicious enough that you're in such a hurry. Could it be, are you being chased by someone else? I'm the only one who can capture and imprison you," she says. "I just don't have time to deal with that nonsense." Then she think, just pretending to be a baby is exhausting enough. He speaks, "So do me a favor and back off." Is that, perhaps related to your child? Hearing this, she think again. He's still stuck on that ridiculous idea? Then suddenly she threw the spear toward Hyeon and said, "Enough chit-chat, Hyeon. I'll take your silence as agreement to the deal." Then she cast a spell, and Hyeon shouted, "Lakesia!" In an instant he disappeared. The next day at Basilian County, Ishul said, "Here's your tea, Captain," she says. "Oh yes, thank you." Then she thought, fortunately, last night's outing ended safely without getting caught. At that moment she said, "Tastes good." Ishul smiled and speaks, "Thank you, Captain." She thought again. Brothers returned this morning without incident, and Hada's damn hat shop has been shuttered for now. Ishul says, "Have some cookies too, Captain," Karha asked. "But why, Captain? Don't kids usually go with prince or princess?" Ishul speaks. Don't like it. She's the captain. Well, alright. Loyalty. She continued thought. It's good I returned safely without being caught. But, now I've got a few issues to deal with. First, I turned back into a child despite drinking the potion. Hata swore it was a perfected formula, so what went wrong? I'll have to wait until Hata makes the potion again to find out. Then Ishul said, Hey, stop eating. Captain won't have any left. She looked at both of them, and then fell deep into thought. And the second issue is Karha. Karha suddenly went out yesterday and came to the hat shop. But the underworld isn't somewhere you just stumble into. He definitely had a reason for being there. As I suspected, the Basilian family is hiding far more than I initially thought. I won't lower my guard like last time. I'll investigate every chance I get. Seriously, I need to pull myself together already. Suddenly, Karha said, Huh! Dog scent? Hearing this, she shocked and think, What? Why does it smell like a dog here? No way, don't tell me. Then suddenly, a dog came out from the bushes and started barking loudly. Seeing his, she think, Why is he here? Hata, Ishul said. A puppy? At that moment, SH think. I thought he was just joking when he said he was closing the shop yesterday. Then she recalled what Hata had said. Since I'm shutting down the shop, I'll live with Lord Lakesia. Then I replied, Alright, whatever. But he actually came. Why'd you sneak in here, you troublemaker pup? The dog settled into her lap, and she wondered in her mind. What are you planning to do? The dog barked. I can feel someone staring. Oh no! This is bad. Hata, hurry up and go. Karha and Ishul were looking at her. Then Ishul said, That puppy. Looks like it's taken a liking to the little one. Karha says, Well, babies usually love tiny dog-like creatures. Ishul added, Right. It's all grubby but might be fine if we wash it. Then Karha asked, Then should we raise that dog? Ishul asked, Should we? Hearing this, she think, Wait, what? Are they seriously thinking of raising Hata? The dog barked. After a while, they come back. He is dancing with joy and saying, I can finally be with Lady Lakesia. She was standing quietly, thinking, So Hata's really ended up living in this house. Then she wonders what had happened a moment ago. Kieran came and asked, Cheshire, what's that? Ishul said, My little sibling wants to raise a puppy. They're already best friends. She replied, a puppy. Then she began to think, Please, Kieran, tell them no. Hearing this, Kieran smiled and speaks, If Cheshire wants to raise one, then we must. But you still have to like me more than the puppy. Okay? She think again. Even Kieran allowed it. Well, at this point, I might as well count Hata as an ally. At that moment, he said, But anyway, Lady Lakesia, have you finished preparing for the banquet? Hata even made baby bonnets for a boutique that supplies Basilian. Then she began to think again. Come to think of it, at that last dinner, the Abroyo family mentioned hosting a banquet soon. It should be about time to try on the outfits, but I haven't heard anything. Did something happen? After a while they were sitting for lunch, suddenly Ishul shouted loudly, This is awful. This is a blatant insult to Basilian. Then Karha asked, What's wrong now? Ishul replied, You saw the outfits that arrived today. Karha speaks, They seemed fine to me. Let's just wear them and go. Then Ishul shouted loudly again, What? Are you hearing yourself? You want to wear those rags? Someone must have intercepted our real outfits. Karha said, Oh, come on. That's a bit much. Ishul shouted loudly, They're completely different from the samples we were shown. Hearing all this, she think, So that's the issue. Then Ishul shouted loudly, How can we wear those things? And the baby has to wear a dress. Do you want your little sibling to show up in rags and be humiliated? Karha speaks, Having the baby looked down on would be a problem. But there's no time to get new outfits. How about fixing it up with accessories? I know a good hat shop. Ishul asked, What? Where? Karha replied, In the underworld. It was a mess last time I went though. It's called Hot's Hat Shop. On hearing this, she started thinking, Of all places, that shop. And they're casually talking about the underworld in front of Ishul, too? Just what kind of relationship does Basilian have with the underworld? Well, the shop is closed anyway. If I stay quiet, this problem will solve itself. Then Ishul held her head and said, Right, there are only a few days left, so we'll just add some decorations to the outfits. If we can find some decent hats and accessories there tomorrow, it'll be better. This is Basilian's debut in high society. I don't want anyone to look down on us. I'll make sure it's perfect. After a while, they went to the outfits room. Ishwal opened the door and said, "Honestly, how utterly tasteless. If I hadn't personally chosen the fabric, I would have tossed everything in the trash." After looking at the outfits, she started thinking, the outfit is definitely fine, like Kara said, but it's lacking something. Since it's a debut in high society, Ishwal must have wanted something more impressive. No wonder he's upset. Though, Ishwal seems to be the only one in this house who actually cares. Ishwal stepped forward and said, "Let's add lace here." She continued thinking, "From the first time we met, I noticed Ishwal loves dressing up and pretty things." Then she recalled what Ishwal had said. "I've never seen anything as beautiful as me. He even carries a parasol every day to keep his skin from darkening. How did a child raised in that dull, gloomy snake's den develop such an eye for beauty?" After a while she says, "Brother," Ishwal said. "Cheshire?" she asked. "Why do you like dressing up?" Ishwal replied, Good question. Now, I just enjoy the act of dressing up. But at first, it was because I didn't want to look like I had no mother. Back then, when mother passed away. At that time, I didn't understand what death was. I just thought mother had disappeared. Then he explained that I had told Belzian, "Brother, I can't find mother anywhere. Karha keeps saying he can't catch her scent." He quietly walked away. Mother suddenly disappeared. Big brother wouldn't answer me. Father locked himself away outside. What is everyone doing? Why isn't anyone trying to find mother? Then Karha asked, "Hey, where are you going?" I replied, "To find mother." Karha says, "I told you she's not there." I shouted loudly, "That's why I have to look, you idiot. I'll go alone if I have to." "Do whatever you want." Karha said, "I'll go too." And so, Karha and I searched for mother every single day. Then, one day, when a guest visited the serpent's castle for a short while, I was wandering around searching for my mother, lost deep in thought. "Mom, no matter how much we searched, we couldn't find her." I heard the guests talking. A lady asked, "Did you see how those kids were dressed?" Young man replied, "Ugh, don't even mention it. The Basilian young masters walking around like that." Lady said, "I know they're from a prestigious Eastern family, but still, seems like they have no shame." "Well, they did go through something big recently. We should pity them, really." Young man says, "I suppose you're right. But still, you can tell they don't have a mother." Then I think, you can tell we don't have a mother? Then suddenly, Karha came and asked, "Hey, what are you spacing out for? Aren't we going to look for mother?" At that moment, I started crying loudly and screaming. Mother isn't gone." "She's not," Karha said. "Hey, why are you suddenly like this? Mother is still here." I shouted loudly. "I really hate this. From now on, I'll never let myself be looked down on for something like this again. Neither I nor our family." Then, after explaining everything, he smiled and said, "Well, that's more or less how I got interested in dressing up. Simpler than you expected, right? At first, it was just an obligation, but not anymore. Once I got into it, it became fun. Anyway, now that you're part of our family too, I want to dress you in the prettiest dress. So don't worry and just trust your big brother." Actually, I've never told this story before. Not even to Karha. So, this is just our little secret. Hearing all this, she says, "I'm going to that room." He asked, "Why? Was my story boring?" She replied, "No. I'm just sleepy, so I'm going to bed early." He said, "All right. I'll take you to your room then. Sleep well, little sister." Then she went back to her room and sat on the bed, lost in thought. So that's the story behind his taste. Asking only made me feel worse, Hadda said. "Lady Lakeisha, something's wrong," she asked. "What is it?" Hadda replies, "The baby bonnet I made, it's gone. I worked so hard on it, thinking you'd wear it." Hearing this, she think, could it be that Ishwal's suspicion was right? Then she recalled what Ishwal had said. Someone definitely intercepted our clothes. Hadda's skills are sought after by even the capital's top boutiques. There's no way they were rejected for quality or design. I was planning to ignore the banquet altogether, but now that they've dared to take what's mine, how annoying. Then she said, "Hadda, contact Mia's boutique, and shall we open our shop for a little while?" The next day afternoon, Ishwal said, "Well, we'll be back, Cheshire. I'll pick out a pretty hat. So you have to be good, okay?" Cheshire says, "Over here, brothers." Can I go out with you brothers today too? Ishul speaks. To the underworld? No. That place is very dangerous. Let's go for a picnic somewhere nice next time. Hearing this, Cheshire said, It's okay. My brothers will protect me, right? Karha speaks. Well, that's true, but the underworld is a bit. For a kid, Cheshire says. I really want to go. I want to go for a picnic with my brothers too. Hearing this, Karha said, Let's take her. Then Ishul speaks. Are you crazy? We've never taken her out before. And we need to try on the hat to see if it suits her. Karha added. But her first outing being the underworld. Hearing this, Cheshire lost in thought. All right. Operation success. If I go to the underworld with the twins, I might be able to find out how Basilian and the underworld are connected. Then Karha said, Why? It suits Basilian well, doesn't it? She continued thought. And I need to put those thieves who dared to steal my clothes in their place. In the end, they came together. Ishul said, Us coming together like this is a secret from our older brother, got it? Karha added, You must never tell anyone. Cheshire replied, Yes. After a while, Ishul says, We've arrived. Then they got out of the vehicle and entered Hata's hat shop. Cheshire asked, Is this the hat shop? Ishul replied, Yes. It looks like the most normal shop in the underworld from the outside. Then Cheshire said, The accessories are nice too. Karha asked, Is anyone there? No way. They're not closed today, are they? Suddenly, Hat came and said, Welcome. Karha asked, Oh, are you the owner here? Hata smiled and replied, Yes, yes. Please look around freely. At that moment, Cheshire lost in thought. He wouldn't notice that Hata is the puppy. At home, right? Just in case. I hid the scent with fairy power, but… Then Karha looked at it carefully and said, He looks like a dog. Hearing this, she was shocked and said, What? Karha asked, Doesn't he look like our dog at home? Ishul speaks. That's true, but it's a bit weird for others to hear, so keep it down. Cheshire think. As expected, quick-witted kids. Then Ishul cleared his throat and asked, Anyway, boss, do you happen to have gentlemen's hats for adult men and boys, and any hats or accessories suitable for a baby? Hata replied, Yes. We have baby hats, of course, and hair accessories too. Then he asked, Would you like to try them on directly? Ishul replied, Well. Seeing this, he said, Good, good. Karha says, Baby, it suits you well. Hata smiled and speaks, So cute. Since the baby is pretty, everything looks good on her. Then Ishul said, Hee, the owner has a good eye. I'll buy everything here. She began to think, They're acting like they're the ones getting complimented. Ishul speaks, This craftsmanship is far superior to the renowned artisans in the capital. Cover the cost of everything, including ours. Hata says, I'm glad you like it. I'll have it delivered to your residence soon. At that moment, Karha said, By the way, owner. Hata replied, Yes? Then Karha replied, Do you also make potions at the hat shop? Hearing this, shocked and think, All of a sudden? Then Karha added, I happened to see the back of the shop last time, and I saw something about a baby fairy. Hata replied, I don't know what you're talking about. At that moment, Ishul shouted loudly, Why have you been acting like that this whole time? Why are you suddenly looking for a baby fairy? One's right here, isn't that enough? Don't bother the owner with nonsense. He needs to keep making hats in the future. Then she began to think, Did he end up finding the lab back then? I almost got caught, but I'm glad Ishul handled it well. Now the hats and accessories are mostly done. We should leave before he starts questioning him further. After a while, Hata speaks. Young masters, are you interested in clothing by any chance? I know a really good tailor. Hearing this, Ishul smiled and said, A tailor shop? Hata added, Yes. It's called Mia's Atelier. If you'd like, I can take you there. Then Ishul said, Sounds good. If it's the owner's recommendation, we have to check it out. Hearing this, Cheshire began to think, Mia's Atelier has the best skills of any place I know. The problem is… Then they went to that shop. Mia said, Welcome to Mia's Atelier. So, some little nobles have wandered into an underworld tailor shop. These clueless brats have no idea how terrifying this place is, Naya. In the name of the underworld, I won't forgive you, Naya. Then Cheshire think, The shop owner, Mia, is completely unhinged. She's a weird one no matter when you see her. I'll show you the true terror of the underworld, Naya. Acting like a beast while being a human. I can't bear to watch with my eyes open, Ishul said. This person seems a little odd. Karha asked, should we just leave? Then Mia said, that's too harsh, Naya. Then Karha saw a dress and says, but still, her skills seems better than expected. Ishul asked, how is it? Cheshire replied, this place is nice. Then he said, I want to order clothes for a banquet 5 days from now. There's not enough time to tailor new clothes, so would it be possible to alter existing ones? Mia says, 5 days is a tight schedule. Then, young masters, let me take a look at your faces. Then suddenly, someone grabbed their hoodie and said, all of a sudden? Karha said, well, it's not a big deal. Then Mia smiled and speaks, so cute. You're all way too adorable. You should have taken your hoods off sooner. This really fires up my motivation. Ishul says, it'll be tight, but I'll have everything ready by the morning of the event. Mia added, let's go with this design. Oh, and for this young master, something like this. Did I see it wrong? As soon as they stepped out of the shop, Mia said, be careful on your way, handsome young masters. Then Ishul speaks, that was a perfect outing. Now, if we hurry back before older brother finds out. Then suddenly, Karha drew his sword and struck, cutting a net into 2 pieces. Ishul said, this is an iron net. A voice was heard. What the? That bastard just cut through the iron net with a sword. Then someone shouted, damn it! What the hell are you doing? Just shoot the arrow already. No way. If we hit the goods, they'll be damaged. She lost in thought. No wonder it felt like things were too quiet. Now this is the real underworld. The underworld has always been nothing more than a dumping ground for trash, where the worst of the worst gather. Then some slave hunters came forward in front of them. One of them think, shall we have some fun for the first time in a while? Then other one began to think, this one's gonna gel really well, huh? And yet, a bunch of kids are wandering around here? This was bound to happen. One of them said, well, where did these pretty little noble boys come rolling in from? They'd fetch a high price at the slave market, huh? Seeing this, Cheshire began to think, slave hunters, but the ones with the worst reputation are those who hunt magical creatures. Those who target humans are just small fry. Karha should be able to take care of this much on his own. Then Ishul speaks, I finally came out for an outing with my little sister, and it's ruined by filth. Karha, don't let the blood splatter on me. Our little sister is here too. Karha replies, yes. Then he swung his sword and said, baby, make sure to keep your eyes shut. Just as Karha moved toward them, one of them shouted loudly, get it together. What are you hesitating for against some kid? Attack. Then, in an instant, Karha reached his neck. When the sword was at his neck, a voice suddenly spoke, stop. A boy stepped forward and said, the master does not wish for any further commotion. Seeing him, Cheshire thought, what? Why is Jihan here? There's no way someone of his stature would step in for something this trivial. Then Slave Hunter bowed respectfully and speaks, my apologies. We had no idea Lord Jihan was watching. We may have gotten a little greedy. We truly hope we haven't disturbed your peace by being too noisy. Let's get out of here. Then he shouted loudly, please put in a good word for us with the master. At that moment, Jihan said, I believe I told you that causing a scene would be troublesome. Karha says, sorry, but they attacked us first. Jihan speaks, if it had just been the two of you, it might have been overlooked. But since you have company, this time you won't get off so easily. Hearing this, Cheshire began to think, what is this atmosphere? No way. They all know each other? Jihan, the master's highest-ranking direct subordinate, this man, who never reveals a trace of emotion, is the underworld's executioner, wielding a whip that transforms into sharp hooks. If you happen to face him, it usually ends in death. He is the symbol of calamity in the underworld, a being regarded as misfortune, bad luck, and ominousness itself. A street commotion of this level is a common occurrence, but the master even sent someone like Jihan to stop it. Even I have only seen him once before, but seeing how close they seem. At that moment, Jihan said, be more careful from now on. Karha replied, yeah, I got it. It's clear that Basilians are much more deeply connected to the underworld than I thought. Just who are Basilians? Our eyes met. Then Cheshire says, hello. Hearing this, Karha was shocked and said, whoa, my little sister greeted him. You shouldn't greet strange people without thinking. Then Cheshire asked, why? Am I not supposed to say hi? Then she think, he was the one who's been chatting away this whole time. Jihan bowed respectfully and says, "It is an honor to meet you. I am Jihan." She speaks, "I'm Che-sha Basilian." Jihan added, "It's a pleasure to meet you. But I hope we don't run into each other again next time." Cheshire think, don't people usually say, "See you next time"? This guy really doesn't get social hints. Then she asked, "Why? You don't want to see me again?" Jihan replies, "That's not it, but meeting someone like me is never a good thing." Hearing this, she began to think, why does this feel like deep self-loathing? I didn't expect Jihan to be this kind of person. Well, Jihan is someone who's feared even among the underworld. That's why he must have always been alone. Just like I was once ostracized as the daughter of a mad fairy. If you're alone for too long, you start to hate yourself. After a while, she said, "But I don't mind. I want to say hi again next time too." Then she think again. "You and we're both quite unlucky, aren't we?" Then he turned back and speaks, "It's getting late. You three should head back now." That night, Jihan stood in front of the slave hunter. The slave hunter said, panicking, "Please spare me. I was really wrong." Then Jihan killed him with his whip. At that moment, he began to think, it was the first time. The first time someone smiled at me like that. But then he recalled what someone had said. "Get lost, you monster! No, don't come near. I must not. Someone like me should never have met a child so precious." Even so, the desire to see that smiling face just once more. It must be my greed. At that moment, suddenly someone came and asked, "Did you say goodbye to the baby?" Seeing him, Jihan said, "You've returned, master." Master asked, "She's adorable, isn't she?" Jihan bowed respectfully and replies, "Yes, master." Master stepped forward and asked, "So that whole ruckus was just some lowly slave hunters?" Jihan replied, "My apologies." The master placed his hand on his head and said, I wasn't blaming you. I'll take care of the cleanup myself." At that moment, the master killed the slave. Then master asked, "Have you found out the whereabouts of the witch?" Jihan replied, "After the mansion incident, she completely disappeared again." Master speaks, "She's not the type to stay quiet. An inquisitor of such high standing came out personally to greet her. After all, we'll have a use for her soon enough. Make sure to keep a close watch on the witch's every move." Same time, Basilian townhouse. The three siblings are standing silently in front of Belzian. Karha and Ishwal exchanged a worried glance, both thinking the same thing. This is bad. Then Cheshire thought to herself, I knew this would happen. A few moments later, Belzian asked in a stern voice, "Karha, Ishwal, what were you thinking?" Ishwal answered, "I just thought it would be nice to go on an outing with my younger sibling, since we've never gone out together before." Karha said, "It's true." Hearing this, Belzian said sternly, "Even so, you took her to the underworld? You should have been careful since she's just an ordinary child." Karha said, "But I brought her along because I was confident I could protect her." He replied, "That's not the issue. That child isn't a Basilian." She was surprised upon hearing Belzian's words. Karha was surprised and asked, "Brother, what do you mean by that?" Then Ishwal interrupted, "Still, right now she's our younger sibling. Besides, she's listening right now." Belzian suddenly raised his voice. "Enough. Did I say something wrong? That child is either of Basilian blood, nor are we related in any way, so stop with the nonsense." His words hurt both of them, but neither said a word. They simply remained silent and listened. Hearing this, she thought, well, Belzian had been planning to send me away from the start. Then she remembered Belzian's words. He said so, "Don't get attached so carelessly. I'll make sure to send you away as soon as possible." She continued thinking, especially since this upcoming banquet is meant to introduce the members of the Basilian family for the first time, they're probably trying to send me away before then. Even though we've looked out for each other a little, and shared some affection in our own way, we were never truly family. I even made up my mind to leave quickly, yet foolishly, I thought of attending the banquet. Yes, I was the foolish one. I even tried to kill Count Rudin for insulting the Basilian family, and prepared banquet attire so that the Basilians wouldn't be looked down upon. None of it had anything to do with me. When I saw him confiding in me, I thought Belzian was just a child who got attached too easily. But in the end, I was the child who got attached, acting like a real Basilian. He sat there with a cold, stern expression, while Cheshire stood before him. She drifted into thoughts of her past and said to herself, could it be that I've gone mad? Believing in the impossible. As she thought about it, her expression softened, and a faint smile appeared on her face. No matter how lonely was, to get so absorbed in this kind of role play. Yes, I'll stick to my original plan. Get a grip and prepare to leave. Given the circumstances, with its ties to the underworld, there are many suspicious things about the Basilian family. I'll finish investigating the Basilian estate before the banquet, and when Belzian sends me away, I'll vanish along with the clues. I'll leave this family completely and return to my true self. A little later, as she stepped out of the room, she let out a deep sigh of relief. Have I really turned into a child, even in my mind? I don't feel great. Just as she took a step forward, a dark shadowy figure suddenly appeared behind her. She turned around to look behind her, only to see the shadow growing even larger. Seeing this, she thought, this presence. At that very moment, the shadow transformed into a figure and appeared before Cheshire. It was Count Kieran Basilian. Seeing this, she was surprised and thought, Kieran? He stepped forward with a gentle smile, his calm eyes resting warmly on her as he said, hello, Cheshire. What was my daughter up to? She noticed the smell of sweat and thought, smells like sweat. Must have been running around again. Then she said softly, I wasn't doing anything. Kieran lowered himself before her and lightly brushed the tip of her nose with his finger, speaking in a gentle voice. What's with that face? Did Belzian scold you a lot? She says. No, he didn't. Cheshire began to think. Seems like they both knew we went to the underworld, he added. Then, did you not have fun on today's outing? She said softly. That's not it either. Kieran gently picked Cheshire up, held her in his arms, and said, since your brother did the scolding, I'll take on the role of comforting you. Come on, look at the flowers with Dad. At that very moment, he stretched out his hand and, using his magic, moved forward. Before the blink of an eye, the two of them appeared in the garden of the Imperial Palace. Cheshire felt a beautiful, fragrant scent all around her and began to wonder where it was coming from. This is the rose garden. As she took in the sweet fragrance of the roses, Cheshire closed her eyes, feeling their delicate scent deep within her soul, and she thought, it's filled with the scent of roses. I like it. Then, suddenly, Kieran asks, how is it? Nice atmosphere, right? She suddenly snapped out of her thoughts and looked around. I spaced out for a moment, mesmerized by the fragrance. At that moment, she said, but Dad, where is this place? Then he added, the Imperial Palace's garden. Hearing this, she was shocked and began to think, what? Is this really okay? Kieran sat down beside her and answered calmly. Technically it's the detached palace, but there's no security at this hour, so it's fine to look around as we please. Cheshire began to think, is this really okay? As they continued talking, Kieran gently picked a rose and tucked it into Cheshire's hair. He smiled warmly at her and said softly, as expected, it suits you well, my daughter. You're upset because your brother scolded you, aren't you? But Dad also wishes you wouldn't go to places like that. There are a lot of bad people there. After hearing all this, Cheshire added, Dad, do you go there too? Kieran looked at her in surprise. You mean the underworld? She says. Yes. He speaks. Why are you curious about that? She lowered her gaze, a trace of sadness in her voice as she said, because everyone's allowed to go there but me. But it's okay even if you don't tell me. I'm not a Basilian after all. Hearing this, Kieran looked at her and remained silent for a moment. Thoughts crossed her mind. I only meant to pretend to pout a little, but somehow, didn't it come out sounding like I really meant it? Suddenly, he picks her up and says, were you really that upset? Oh dear, she shouted. No, I wasn't, he added. Then this is something only you should know, Cheshire. First of all, your brothers are helping your dad. Of course, it's not something dangerous, so don't worry. Dad is doing something in the underworld. Well, kind of, he's managing something there. To be precise, he's overseeing things, and he's taking care of the people there, just like how he looks after you. Hearing this, she becomes lost in thought. All the pieces are coming together. With Kieran, who had a report about her something only residents of the underworld would know, and the master, who knew exactly about my mark. She remembered someone's words. You're not going to say you didn't notice, even though you left your mark on the Sacred Knight's secret place, are you? Then Cheshire continued thinking. The day when Kieran and the three brothers all left the mansion for an important matter. was when an emergency broke out in the underworld because of Hylon. And even when I went to the underworld with them, it was clear they had been there more than once. Even Master's subordinate, Jahan, showed a strange politeness toward the twins. As she thought about all this, her small hands began to tremble with fear. No way. Kieran was the master? Which means, I'd been deceiving a resident of the underworld all this time. She looked toward Kieran, stunned. I'm doomed. If the master wants to, killing me would be nothing to him. I have to run away before I get caught. If you enjoyed the video, please like, share, and subscribe. It helps us grow.